it's Rachel Caskey, and I wanted to talk to you about my trip to Colorado Springs to attend the Art and Soul Mixed Media Art Retreat. The first class I took was in the Paint Over class, where Lisa Bebby, the art instructor, taught us how to paint over black and white photocopies. And here's the first one I did. This is one of me and my fiance Jim, and it's in front of the Gateway Clipper where we went on a riverboat cruise in Pittsburgh. And I added in some collage pieces as well. And as you can see, it actually looks like a painting and not a photocopy any longer. I also added in a moon over here. And the second one that I worked on was a mugshot image that the art instructor gave each of us a different mugshot. The one I had, she looked kind of witchy, so I added a couple of witch hats and also some collage images that kind of allude to her witchiness. Some moons here. So I have to adhere this one to a larger substrate because I didn't have a larger one at that time. I didn't have a large enough canvas at the retreat for this one. And then the third one I worked on is this lovely little darling here. This was another image that the art instructor had, and then I just added in the collaged butterfly wings. I also colored her dress, and I did a little bit of a wash of colors in the background. But basically I kept her coloring, or I kept it true to most of the image itself. I did color her skin using a Copic marker so you could see her skin, but I kept this one pretty basic because I thought she was just adorable as she was. And so that was the first class that I took there. And then the second class that I took was the Wabi Sabi needle burrow class, where I actually did a sewing project. And I don't sew that often, but I've always wanted to try some fiber arts. So in this case, I sewed a needle case in the burrow tradition, which is a Japanese tradition of using scraps. It was based on the poor Japanese people who only had one garment their entire lives, so they had to continually patch them up. So we made these needle cases in honor of that tradition, but not to actually take away from, you know, what happened or how they had to live back then. But I did a lot of straight stitches on here and some blanket stitching along this one here. And inside, we cut down felt pieces and then did some back stitching in the middle here. And then I put my needles in here. And then after all the stitching is done, I added a little piece of indigo fabric here that wraps around. And I also stitched on this red button that I had here at home. And then I made a little hole in the fabric so that I could put it right around the button like that. And voila, it's done. That one I finished here at home because I ran out of time during that particular class. And then also in the Japanese tradition, I took a Wabi Sabi Boro collage class by Donna Watson. She went into detail about design elements, and she kept us on task on using design elements in our collages. So I had enough time to make 4 different collages. So I did this one, and it uses the bridge technique where your eye is brought here to the middle, and you use the opposite sides do not detract from this area here. And as you can see, my focal point is right here. And I used blue and then these little pieces of orange throughout, give it a little pop. Okay, so that was my first one. And then I used my own papers to emphasize my choice in colors, because the art I showed the instructor my art on my Instagram page, and she noticed that I really love color, and she encouraged each of us to stay true to our own individual creative style. So she encouraged me to use color in my collages. So in this case I used, purple and yellows and some pale yellow over here. And then I had these black and white images that I brought with me. So I used that, and I put a neutral piece behind her so that it really, it really makes her pop and makes her come out. So I like this so much that I started using this theme for my other collages, as you'll see. So the next one I made, I was very proud of this one, because I really like how she just comes right out, and just the simplicity of this collage makes it so powerful. So I used some contrasting colors here and a complementary. And then the last one from that class is right here. Very simple but powerful. This one kind of reminds me of Christmas, like opening up like he's opening up a gift or something. So that is from that class, and she taught us a lot about researching our own history and finding our own voice, artistic voice. And she talked to me personally about how I can define who I am and thus use that information to inform my artwork and create more series. So you may be seeing more of that in my new artwork soon. Okay, and then I took another class by Lisa Bebby, and this one was another paint over class but with animals. So the first one I worked on was this sheep. This was actually based off of a picture of a sheep I took, and I used some stenciling throughout, and I also used some a paint marker to outline the sheep and also the fencing here. So this was done on photocopy paper, and then it was adhered to a wooden backing. I actually prefer the wood to the canvas boards, but yeah, there were only so many to go around. Now this was my second one in that class, and everyone really liked this one. This one turned out really well. Actually, the instructor, Lisa, was saying it's reminiscent of Colorado Springs with the mountains, with the stenciling kind of reminds her of mountains. And of course the horse being multicolored and outlined like this kind of reminds you of a Southwest feel. And this one was this is also on a photocopy, and it was mounted to canvas board. And this one, which I'm going to have to fix, because unfortunately it was still a little bit tacky when I took it home. So I'm going to have to paint the parts that came up a little, but it should be okay. That's the nice thing, is things can be repaired. As you see, there's some spots here that lifted up, but I can go ahead and paint those and fix them, like right here. But this was the third animal that I painted on a photocopy. The image was provided also, just like the horse, the goat and the horse were both provided by Lisa. And I got really creative with the goat here. I added, some more stencil work, but also I added this little coat, this party coat and a party hat, because the goat is going to a party. And this one was adhered to wood. Okay, and then the final class that I took was with Clarissa. I can't remember her last name. I'll put her name up on the blog. I don't have her last name up here, but the class was basically painting over cabinet cards. So I did a lot of paint over classes, which I really enjoyed. So the first one I worked on was this one, and you can see the shimmer. We actually got to use gold leaf, which I really enjoyed, as you can tell, because I put a lot of gold leaf onto this one. And I don't know if you can tell, but I also used a little bit of Japanese paper. This was left over from one of the other attendees. She gave me a piece of this paper in the collage class. So I didn't get to use it in the collage class, so I used it on here. But this was a cabinet card I purchased for $5 off of Clarissa. And originally, the guy on here looked like he could have been Ethan Hawke's ancestor. So I kept joking around about how I was painting Ethan Hawke's ancestor. But now he looks a little bit more pop artish, which I was very pleased with the outcome, because he looks really stately. But I really love how I did a lot of mark making on here, and I really enjoyed mark making. But stay tuned for seeing more of my artwork incorporating gold leaf or silver leaf, because I really enjoy that shimmer. And then the other one I worked on is this one. It's a little girl with her doll, and I made the doll's hair match her hair, but this also has some gold leaf, if you can see the shimmer in the little half spheres here. And I made her kind of have the same like pop art look. I really got into using the paint markers, so that's what you see here. And so I really enjoyed my trip to Colorado Springs. It's gorgeous. It's the first time I've ever been there to see the mountains. And as I was there, I was posting my art and my experiences on Facebook. And one of my grade school friends happened to see it, and apparently she lives there. So she asked me if I had time to hang out before I went back on my flight to Pittsburgh, and we did. We went to Urban Egg, which is an eatery like for breakfast and lunch. We went there for brunch, of course. We had mimosas, and then we stopped by the Garden of the Gods to see the stone formations over there, which was really awesome. And then she dropped me off at the airport, and I flew back to Pittsburgh to find out that they were having tornadoes before I got there. Luckily, the weather had cleared up by the time I got back, but according to local weather, they had at least 8 tornadoes in the area right before I got back. So that was kind of crazy. So this weather has been a bit rough. But at least the weather when I was over in Colorado Springs was blue skies, just gorgeous. The only thing I would say I would do differently is work in more time for exploration, because I had booked so many classes back to back, like one in the morning from 9 in the morning to 4:30, and then the next one from 6:30 to 4:30. Or 6:30 to 9:30. So I barely gave myself time to relax and really enjoy where I was. I mean, I did make it into the pool, the indoor pool, once, and then I did go into the hot tub as well. But I feel like I still had a rush during those times because I had to make it to my classes around those times as well. So yeah, a word to the wise: if you decide to do any of these type of retreats, just make sure you give yourself time to enjoy yourself while you're there. I did enjoy myself enough to like join some of the other attendees for breakfast and lunch, and a couple times for dinner. And so I actually met a lady who lives not far from where I live, so it's a small world. The other lady lives in New Hampshire, and we exchanged phone numbers, so we hope to stay in touch, which is awesome. You know, it's so cool to get to know people from across the country. And their next Art and Soul Mixed Media Art Retreat is in Portland, Oregon. And if all goes well, I plan to attend that as well. From what I understand, they're no longer going to have the one in Colorado Springs because it's not as well attended. I guess, for example, the one in Colorado Springs this time around only had 97 attendees, as opposed to the one in Portland normally gets over 600. So the one in Portland is very well attended. And most of the instructors that were in Colorado Springs are also going to be instructing in Portland. So I look forward to that. And if you have any questions about my experience, feel free to hit me up. And until next time, talk to you later.